The morning sun painted golden streaks across the glass towers of downtown as Maria Rodriguez pushed her cleaning cart down the 42nd floor hallway. At 58 years old, her hands were rough from decades of hard work, but her eyes remained sharp. She had cleaned these offices for 15 years, watching young executives come and go while she remained invisible to most. That Tuesday morning started like any other. Maria hummed softly as she entered the executive conference room, where the previous evening's board meeting had ended late. Papers were scattered across the massive table, and coffee cups sat abandoned on expensive coasters. But something caught her attention. A leather portfolio lay open near the head of the table where Mr. Harrison sat during meetings. James Harrison was 42 and newly appointed as CEO after his father's retirement. Unlike the old Mr. Harrison, who always acknowledged Maria with a kind word, James barely glanced her way. She had watched him grow more stressed each week, the weight of running a $500 million company aging him beyond his years. Maria began gathering the coffee cups when her eyes fell on the open document. She wasn't one to pry into other people's business. Her mother had taught her that honest work meant keeping your head down and your conscience clear. But the words jumped out at her. Final contract and merger agreement. She paused. Something felt wrong. Maria had only finished 8th grade before life forced her to work, but she could read well enough. The document showed Harrison Industries selling to Blackstone Ventures for $300 million. She knew that wasn't right. Just last week, while emptying the trash, she had seen the quarterly reports. The company was worth at least $800 million, maybe more. Her heart raced. Should she say something? Who was she to question a CEO's decision? She was just a cleaning lady. But her conscience wouldn't let her walk away. Maria had lost her own small house years ago when a dishonest contractor took advantage of her limited English. She knew the pain of being deceived. Taking a deep breath, she carefully noted the room number and the name on the contract. Then she did something she had never done before. She went to the executive assistant's desk and asked to speak with Mr. Harrison. The young assistant, Jennifer, looked at her with surprise. Cleaning staff didn't request meetings with the CEO. "It's very important," Maria said quietly in her accented English. "Please tell him it's about the Blackstone paper." Jennifer's expression changed. 10 minutes later, Maria stood in James Harrison's corner office, her cleaning uniform a stark contrast to the expensive furniture. James looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes as he gestured impatiently for her to speak. "Mr. Harrison, I am sorry to bother you." Maria began, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "This morning I see the contract in the conference room. I should not look, but I see the numbers." James's jaw tightened. "That's confidential information." "Yes, sir, I know I am sorry, but—" She paused, gathering courage. "My husband, he worked in factory for 30 years before he passed. He teach me to notice when numbers don't match. Your company worth much more than what this contract say." James stood abruptly. "With all due respect, Maria, you clean offices, you don't understand corporate finance." "Maybe I don't understand big business," Maria replied, maintaining her dignity. "But I understand when someone try to cheat. My son, he study accounting at community college at night. He teach me things. Your company, assets, your properties, your patents, they worth more. Much more." Something in her absolute certainty made James pause. His head of finance, David Chun, had been pushing this merger hard. David was brilliant, charismatic, convincing. But James had felt uneasy, though he couldn't pinpoint why. "Why would you care?" he asked quietly. "Why risk your job to tell me this?" Maria's eyes grew distant. "When I was a young woman in my country, I see my father lose everything because he trusts wrong person. He never recover. I clean offices for 15 years, Mr. Harrison. I am invisible, but I am not blind. I see good people and bad people. That Mr. Chun, who bring you this contract, I see how he look when you not watching. That is not face of honest man." James sat down heavily. Something about her words resonated. He had ignored his instincts because David seemed so competent, so sure. "Will you wait here?" he asked. The next 3 days were a blur. James quietly brought in an independent audit team. What they discovered shook the company to its core. David Chun had been receiving kickbacks from Blackstone Ventures. The The merger was designed to undervalue Harrison Industries by $500 million. David would receive $50 million for facilitating the deal. The contract was structured so that after the sale, Blackstone would immediately flip the company's most valuable assets for massive profit. James would have lost his family's legacy and $500 million without ever knowing he'd been deceived. David was arrested. The merger was canceled. James called Maria back to his office. This time he stood when she entered and offered her a chair. "Maria, I don't know how to thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved my company, my family's legacy, everything my father built. You saved $500 million. Maria smiled gently. "I just do what is right, Mr. Harrison. My mother always say the most valuable thing we own is our integrity. Cannot be bought or sold. I want to give you a reward." James said, "Name anything." Maria shook her head. "I don't need reward for doing right thing." "But," she hesitated. "My son, Raphael, he is good boy, very smart. He works security at night and study accounting during day. If maybe your company have position for someone who work hard and is honest." James felt his throat tighten. "Raphael starts Monday in our accounting department with full benefits, and we'll pay for him to finish his degree. And Maria, you're now director of facilities management with a salary to match. I need people I can trust, people who see what others miss." Tears filled Maria's eyes. "Mr. Harrison, I don't have education for management." "You have something better," James replied. "You have wisdom, integrity, and the courage to speak truth to power. Those can't be taught in any school." 3 months later, at the company's annual meeting, James told the story. Not to embarrass Maria, but to honor her. He established the Maria Rodriguez Ethics Award given annually to employees who demonstrated extraordinary integrity. Maria stood beside him, tears streaming down her face, as hundreds of people applauded. Her son, Raphael, stood in the audience, his face shining with pride. That evening, as Maria walked to her car, James stopped her. "My father used to say that character is what you do when no one is watching." He said, "You thought no one was watching that morning. Thank you for proving him right." Maria smiled. "We are all watching each other, Mr. Harrison, even when we think we are alone. The question is whether we see with eyes of judgment or eyes of care." As she drove home in her old car to her modest apartment, Maria felt rich beyond measure, not because of her new position or salary, but because she had remained true to herself. And in saving a millionaire's fortune, she had given her son a future. That night, Raphael hugged his mother tight. "You always told me that honest work and good character matter more than money," he whispered. "Today you proved it." Maria held her son close, knowing that the greatest inheritance she could give him wasn't money. It was the example of living with integrity, no matter the cost. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the most important messages. And sometimes the people we overlook are the very ones who can save us. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below telling us about a time when someone's small act of integrity made a big difference in your life. Your story might inspire someone else today.